Happy holidays, guys. And if it's the dead of March, that's okay because the holidays are always right around the corner and we have the perfect pecan pie recipe. No sugar-free syrups, just good old-fashioned beef gelatin. That's what we use to thicken it as opposed to syrup. So the first thing we're gonna wanna do is make a low-carb sugar-free crust. And we have a really great recipe linked below in the blog post so you can follow that along. But I've already made it here, so it's good to go. Popped right out of the fridge. And so we're just gonna roll this out and get this into our pie pan. So you're gonna want 2 pieces of parchment paper. And we are going to plop our dough in the center of one piece, spread it just a little, and then pop our other piece on top and roll it out to a circle, the size of your pan. So we're using a 9.5-inch pie pan, which is on the bigger side. If you do want a pie that's like thicker, you could use a smaller inch pie pan. So our pie crust is rolled out. And this is why it's essential that this crust is really cold, because when we transfer it, we don't want it to break apart. We want it to be a nice, easy transfer to our pie pan. If it's warm, it's gonna crumble. It's not gonna be an easy transfer. And it's okay if it's a little messed up. You can always correct the mistakes. And then we'll move some pieces. Okay, so there's our pie. Doesn't look perfect, but that's okay because it'll be hidden by the delicious pecan topping. So now that our crust is in the pan, we're gonna first bake this while we make the filling. We're gonna pop this in the oven at 425 for 10 minutes, and then we'll pull it out and let it cool before we add the filling. To make the filling for the pecan pie, we're gonna start by heating a bottom-heavy saucepan over medium-low heat, and we are going to add in 3/4 cup, that's 12 tablespoons of butter, and 1/2 cup of granular erythritol. And we're gonna let that cook down for about 5 minutes. All right, so it's been about 3 to 4 minutes, and what we're looking for is a nice golden brown color. So that'll give it like a nice caramel, deep, rich flavor in the pie. So once you achieve your golden brown butter and erythritol mixture, we're gonna start adding in the cream. So we're gonna do 1.5 cups of cream. Slowly add that in as we're stirring. Look at that, that's beautiful. So we're gonna let this simmer for about 15 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes until we get a nice like thick caramelly sauce. While that's doing its thing, we are gonna get our beef gelatin blooming. But first, let's check on the pie crust. So that looks perfect. So we're just gonna set this aside and allow it to cool while we make the rest of our filling. So what's gonna give this pie a really like nice, thick, jelly-like consistency that you find in a traditional pecan pie is this beef gelatin. So this is pretty essential. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna bloom it. So when you're blooming something, you add the gelatin to a liquid for 3 to 5 minutes, allow it to thicken, and then once you add it to a hot liquid, once we add it to the filling, it'll distribute and it'll make the entire filling thick. So if we just added the beef gelatin right into the hot liquid, it would clump up immediately. We don't want it to clump. We want it to distribute really well, so that's why we need to bloom it. So I'm gonna add the remaining cream to a small bowl, and that is 1/4 cup. You can also use traditional gelatin. You don't need to use beef gelatin. We just have a really, really big tub. So we're gonna add 1.5 teaspoons of beef gelatin to the cream. And then we're just gonna give this a little whisk. And then we're gonna set this aside for 5 minutes. All right, so it's been simmering and you can see that it is definitely thickened up quite a bit. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna take this off the heat and we are going to stir in some vanilla and 15 drops of liquid stevia. And then you're gonna wanna grab a clean bowl and we're gonna whisk an egg in here. We don't want this egg to cook, so I'm gonna just add a little bit of the cream and as I slowly whisk it, and that's called tempering. So we're gonna just add some of this. And once you know your egg has not cooked, like so, you can add the rest in. This smells so caramelly delicious. And then all we have to add is our bloomed gelatin. So we're gonna add that in. We're gonna give that a whisk as well. And you're not left with any clumps. Dissolves and distributes right into that hot liquid. So our pie crust has cooled, and I layered the first set of pecans already for you. And so I'm just gonna add the rest. And this is 1.5 cups of raw halved pecans. So that's nice. That's a nice pecan filling. That's what I like to see. And then all we have to do is pour this on top. That looks so good. Now we're gonna pop this in the oven at 350 for 40 to 50 minutes to allow it to cook through. But in that time, your crust, the edges are likely going to burn. So if you have a pie crust guard, I don't know anyone who actually has that. I didn't know that was a thing until recently. You wanna put that on, but we're just gonna use some aluminum foil to cover the crust edges so they do not burn as this bakes. All right, so with the help of Matt, we got our foil on the crust. And I'm gonna put this on a baking sheet for easier transfer in and out of the oven. And I'm just gonna pop this in. It's good to go. I'm so excited to see it. And if you guys don't wanna go through the whole blooming process, you don't want gelatin, you want a little bit of an easier, less gourmet recipe, we have another pecan pie recipe on our site at ketoconnect.net that uses sugar-free maple syrup, easily found in any store in like the syrup section. So we're gonna pop this in the oven. We'll be back in 40 to 50. All right, guys, it's been 40 minutes and we are back. We pulled this out of the oven. The crust has browned some, but has not burned. So that worked out perfect. And look at how beautiful this is. You can see like the brown spots. That's just like that caramel color coming through as it cooks. And this is really full of pecans. I'm so excited to dig in. So ideally you would 100% let this rest, but it's been 10 minutes and we want to taste this for you guys. So I'm going to cut right into this. So this is definitely not set like I mentioned, and you want to let it set. So we're rolling the dice here. So this is a gamble. Guys, you need to let it set.
That doesn't look great.
Big mistake cutting into it when it's not set. This is what happens. So I'm going to give it a try, but then we're definitely going to let it set and we'll come back and show you that it has set and we can cut out a slice. Doesn't need to set. Just scoop it out. That's so good. You know how we like browned that butter slightly in the beginning? That is key. So you can really taste that brown caramel flavoring. And the crunch of the pecans, dense and soft and just melt in your mouth. So I don't know about you guys, but this is a home run. You guys are gonna wanna make this for this holiday season. Check out our food blog, ketoconnect.net, and then linked below in the description is the recipe on how to make this and exactly how long it takes. But we'll be back to show you once it's set. All right, guys, it's been an hour and we're back. One change I would make to this is I would chop up half of the pecans. I wouldn't just do whole pecans in the entire pie. I would do roughly chop for about half of them. So you can tell this is a lot more set. That's what we're looking for, some nice firmness. Ooh, look at that. Looks really good from this side. Does it look good from that side? And that is a very chunky piece of pecan pie. So you can see there's pecan all throughout it, which is what I like. I like a lot of crunch. I like a lot of pecans, but roughly chopped, you're gonna get a lot of little pieces, a lot of big pieces. So make this recipe. Like I said, linked below is the instructions, the ingredients on how to exactly make this. You're gonna wanna make this for the holiday season. Thanks for joining us.